appearance on Mr. Stephen Miller at the White House, did you not?
No, sir, I did not. And in fact, where you're seeing that is in a news article of anonymous sources. And anonymous sources say a lot of things, but I've never said that at all.
Well, here's what you said on the record. I'm going to read your words. Quote, everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen.
Sir, where did you see me say that at? You read that in a news article with no sources
You said it
affiliated
on the
to it.
record on January 27th of 2026. Did I read your words accurate?
I enjoy working with the president and with Stephen Miller, and that day we were working to get as much information to the American people as possible. That is what we'll continue to do, and as that happens, we'll go forward.
Do you think it was fair to blame Mr. Miller?
Sir, I did not do that. You're reading from a newspaper article with
Yes, ma'am.
anonymous sources.
Are you denying that you said that?
Sir, I'm not going to speak to that situation that is relayed on anonymous sources that no one has.
Before we go anywhere else, you need to understand something about what you're about to see. This hearing starts slow, polite handshakes, scripted compliments, everybody pretending this is just another day on Capitol Hill. But that doesn't last. Not even close. Because by the end, Senator John Kennedy corners Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem with a question she simply cannot walk away from without leaving fingerprints all over the situation. And when she tries, when she dodges, Kennedy pushes again, and again, and again. Watch closely, because this hearing transforms from routine oversight into a slow-motion collision, and all the wiggle room Noem had at the start evaporates by the minute. What begins as friendly turns into tense, then heated, then flat-out uncomfortable. And the moment you saw at the top, that's where everything breaks open. But we're going to build to that so you can see exactly how Noem walked herself into that corner. This hearing is about ads. $220 million worth of them, featuring Secretary Noem herself. Ads she claims were necessary. Ads that Kennedy believes were political vanity spending disguised.
Kennedy, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here. President Trump, ably assisted by Mr. Stephen Miller, quickly in the President's second administration developed policies to secure our southern border, policies that you and the Department of Homeland Security implemented. And I congratulate all of you on your success. Properly vetting people at the southern border is not racist, is it?
No.
Could you answer for the record?
No, it is not racist.
Properly vetting people at the southern border is prudent, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
And to do that, we need the Border Patrol, do we not?
Yes, we do.
And we also need ICE, do we not?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I just wanted to get my congratulations on the record. I believe you have a policy, Madam Secretary, that you have to approve all contracts at your department over $100 million.
No, sir, I have a policy in place that I review contracts. My deputy chiefs have the ability to review anything under $5 million. Above that, I evaluate and look at.
Okay. And you do that, I understand, to try to curb waste and abuse of taxpayer money. Is that right?
Yes, sir. In fact, it's been extremely effective. We've saved the taxpayers over $13.2 billion just by evaluating contracts, negotiating lower ones, and canceling ones that aren't necessary to do our duties.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota, is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Okay. And you're saying...
Right here is where Kennedy takes the classic approach. Open soft. Lull the witness into comfort, then slide the knife in. Notice how he begins with flattery. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on your success. And a string of leading questions designed to produce agreeable sound bites. It's friendly. It's warm. It's surface level. And Noem plays along because this is the script she expected. But pay attention to Kennedy's setup. Every early question is a foundation stone for the argument he's building. Proper vetting isn't racist. Border Patrol is necessary. ICE is necessary. These are rhetorical warm-ups. He's establishing that Noem values operational discipline, financial prudence, and careful oversight. She agrees with all of it. Cheerfully. Repeatedly. And then he pivots. He uses her own testimony, her pride in cutting waste, her insistence that she reviews contracts over $5 million, and he runs straight into the contradiction. How do you square that concern for waste with the fact that you spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently? That is the first major pressure point. Watch her response. She immediately shifts responsibility upward. She says the president tasked her with the ads. She says the goal was to deter illegal immigration. She says it was effective. But effectiveness isn't the question. Kennedy isn't debating strategy. He's probing motive, oversight, and personal benefit. Every time she answers, she returns to the same lane. The president wanted it. We followed legal process. But she never says, this wasn't politically beneficial to me. Because she can't. The footage is already out there. Her face is literally in the ads. And that's when Kennedy begins pulling documents. He asks whether the contracts were competitively bid. She says yes. He asks who selected the firms. She says career officials. But then he drops his first piece of evidence. One of the selected firms, he claims, was formed just 11 days before being chosen. Another, he says, is led by someone married to Noem's former spokesperson. Now watch how her posture changes. She stops asserting facts and starts qualifying answers. She says she had no legal authority to look into subcontractors. She shifts blame to process. She tries to create distance. I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. But Kennedy isn't asking whether she selected subcontractors. He's asking whether the bidding process was clean and whether the outcome benefited people close to her.
You said these were acts of domestic terrorism, is that right?
Sir, in answer to questions at the press conference that afternoon, it was that it appeared to be.
Yeah. But you said these appeared to be acts of domestic terrorism.
And as I've said previously in this hearing,
But
is that
first, Madam Secretary, did you say
we're getting
that? I think it's been
information from
widely
a chaotic
reported.
scene on the
Did you say
ground
that?
and relaying information to the American people.
Okay. Now, again, those videos or public people can draw their own conclusions. I think it'd be safe to say you got some pushback on that. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
And you had some criticism. I'm not saying the criticism was accurate or inaccurate. I think you did. What got my attention was that you blamed those statements on Mr. Stephen Miller at the White House. Did you not?
No, sir, I did not. And in fact, where you're seeing that is in a news article of anonymous sources. And anonymous sources say a lot of things, but I've never said that at all.
Well, here's what you said on the record. I'm going to read your words. Quote, everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen.
Sir, where did you see me say that at? You read that in a news
reported
article with no sources
You said it
affiliated
on the
to it.
record on January 27th of 2026. Did I
Sir,
read your words accurate?
I enjoy working with the president and with Stephen Miller, and that day we were working to get as much information to the American people as possible. That is what we'll continue to do, and as that happens, we'll go
Do
forward.
you think it was fair to blame Mr. Miller?
Sir, I did not do that. You're reading from a newspaper article with
Yes, ma'am.
anonymous sources.
Are you denying that you said that?
Sir, I'm not going to speak to that situation that is relayed on anonymous sources that no
This
one
wasn't
has heard me
anonymous.
say that.
It was you.
No. Who
I mean, you
reported
said
that
it.
to that newspaper?
They're quoting you.
This is the moment where the temperature spikes. Up to this point, Noem has been pushing through discomfort, redirecting, qualifying, passing responsibility upward or outward. But once Kennedy moves into her public statements following the Minneapolis killings, the pressure becomes personal. It's not about subcontractors or legal processes anymore. It's about her credibility, her words, and her accountability. He starts by revisiting her own phrasing that the events appeared to be acts of domestic terrorism. And he acknowledges that she received pushback. That's important. He's framing this as a moment where she came under scrutiny for how she communicated with the public. Now watch Noem's answers. She insists that early information was chaotic, that they shared what they knew, that videos are public and people can decide for themselves. These are reasonable defenses if the topic were merely about accuracy. But Kennedy immediately shows his real hand. He asks whether she blamed her statements on Stephen Miller. He's not exploring semantics, he's probing whether she attempted to shift political fallout onto someone in Trump's inner circle. And this is where Noem's footing completely falters. First, she denies doing it. Then, she claims the report comes from anonymous sources. Then she says, anonymous sources say a lot of things. But Kennedy isn't relying solely on anonymous chatter. He begins citing her own words. Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen. She cuts him off to demand the source. He tells her, a news article from January 27th, 2026. She claims he's citing a newspaper with no on-the-record sources. She says she enjoys working with the president and with Stephen Miller. She starts pivoting into generalities, teamwork, relaying information, moving forward. But she never directly denies the quote with clarity. She denies the article's credibility, but she won't say unequivocally, I never said that. Instead, she shifts into a defensive posture. She won't speak to that situation because it comes from anonymous sourcing. And Kennedy pounces on the contradiction. If the quote is attributed to her on the record, why is she hiding behind anonymity? Why not deny it directly? Why refuse to clarify whether she blamed Miller? Then, he drops the hammer. It was you. Who reported that to that newspaper? They're quoting you on the record saying it's Stephen's fault. And right here, this is the precise second the hearing snaps. This is the moment from our opening. You can see the tension rise physically. Noem insists again that she never blamed Miller. Kennedy presses, short and sharp. Are you denying that you said it? She won't give him the yes or no answer he's demanding. She says she won't speak to anonymous sources that no one has heard me say. He responds flatly. It was you. It's devastating. Not because it proves guilt, that's not what hearings are for, but because it exposes the gap between her testimony and the reporting in a way she cannot patch over in real time. She can deny the article. She can question the sources, but she cannot repair the credibility hit that comes from refusing to address the contradiction directly. What you're seeing is a classic oversight